Today we're going to talk about evangelism. And I know I promised that we would not be following the same scripture verses that the children are having over in Kids Corner. But if it fits, we're going to use it. And today's talk about evangelism actually comes from a question I had not that long ago by a teenager. They said they really, really loved their church, but everybody around was so old. And they realized that if they're going to have a church when they got to be an adult, they're going to have to do the work and bring people in because right now there wasn't a whole lot of people there. We talked about it a bit and what this person could do to share their faith, and it was kind of scary. Evangelism is scary. Now, a couple things about evangelism before we go too far. The media have really latched on to this word, and so have certain hate groups. So often people hear the word evangelism or evangelical and they assume hate. That's not what's going on for the majority of Christians. In fact, one of the reasons I have the name Barefoot Evangelist on this website is I think we need to reclaim the word evangelist. Because all an evangelist is someone who talks about their faith. That's it. You talk about the good news of Jesus. There's nothing more complicated than that. So, how do we do that? That's a question even adults ask because it's very, very difficult. One of the ways that traditionally people think faith has been shared is to force it, and it never works. It's kind of like having a girlfriend or a boyfriend break up with you to go date someone else, and you think that other person stole them from you. The fact is they didn't steal them. Your ex wanted to make that decision and go and date someone else. It's sad and it's uncomfortable, but it's their choice. No one forced them to do it. That's kind of the way evangelism is, to sharing the faith. You can't force someone to do anything. All you can do is kind of open the door and say, come and see. This is something that I really enjoy, and I think you might too. This means a lot to me. Sometimes in the church we've got so many things that are catered to adults, and we never think about teenagers with all of their questions. And the thing is, if you've spent any time in church as a child, you've got some really good memories. It can be running around the sanctuary when no one's paying attention, climbing over the pews, or if you've got a balcony, climbing up in there, going to where the cord is to ring the bell, maybe even having the opportunity to ring the bell, looking at the stained glass windows, looking at the plaques around, looking at the goblets that are hidden behind glass, or the huge Bible that weighs a ton sitting on the front of the pulpit. All of these are really, really good memories. And when we become a teenager, sometimes we think we have to throw out those memories because everything in church is so boring. It doesn't have to be. The thing is, if you're excited about being in church and you tell someone else about the exciting stuff, then you have the power to go tell the person in charge, me or someone else, hey, how about we try this? How about we do something different for a change? You have that ability. And see, the thing with evangelism is the whole idea is it's to get people excited about their faith, to share their faith. If we look at the story of Philip and Nathaniel this morning, Philip got really excited about Jesus and he wanted to go tell Nathaniel about it. And Nathaniel, who was a very, very smart person, and the reason we know that is because he was sitting under a fig tree. One of the symbols in the Hebrew culture is the fig tree is identified as with the smart people. The judges, if we look at the story of the judge Deborah, she sat under a fig tree. So it's associated with someone who has a lot of really good questions and isn't easily convinced. And Philip doesn't even bother convincing him. He says to Nathan, come on, come see what's going on. You make up your own mind. And then Nathaniel does see Jesus and, of course, realizes this is the Messiah and gets excited himself. Evangelism can do that. And it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be lecturing someone or a big 2-hour thing. It can be 30 seconds or a minute long. It can be just simple as saying, I'd really like you to come with me this week. No judgment, no questions, just come see what you think. Or, this person said something that really, really means something to me, and I kind of like to share if you'd like to hear me talk about it. Or, hey, look at this video. This is really kind of cool. The music is great. It really is something I want to be part of. It doesn't have to be complicated to share your faith. And the thing with faith is the message is about growth and about love and acceptance. The most important message in the Christian church is that you matter. You are loved. It doesn't matter what decisions you've made. It doesn't matter what clothes you wear. It doesn't matter who your friends are. You matter and you are welcome. If you go into a place and you feel like you're not welcome there, then just leave. It's not for you. There will be someplace else where you will feel welcomed. There'll be places where you'll invite your friend and they won't see what you enjoyed so much. But don't give up on them. Keep saying, okay, well, so that wasn't your thing. How about we try this? And the thing is, if you get together with your friends and you talk about this more and you ask questions, because just like Nathaniel, he was a very smart person. There's an assumption out there that if you ask questions, then you are not really faithful, or that you have to shut off your brain when you come into church and talk about Christianity. That's not the case at all. In fact, that's the opposite of what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to ask more questions and get more information, and out of that, you get more questions. If you invite friends to do part of this, maybe you end up talking with each other after a while. Okay, so you didn't like it. What didn't you like? What did you like? Was there something else? Maybe was there something you saw that I didn't see? What's going on? What are you curious about? Ask the questions. And then eventually, if you've got enough friends together, you come up with some answers. And if you don't like the answers you get, maybe you bring more people into the conversation, maybe even some grown-ups, and ask them what they think the answers are. And quite frankly, grown-ups should be able to answer some of your questions. If not, maybe you're going to send them to read more and study more, and you be evangelizing to the grown-ups in your world. It's not just something adults do. Kids do it all the time too. And the more you develop the faith, the more you express your questions and try to find out what it is that works for you, the more Jesus will matter in your life. See, the thing with faith that I don't think you kids are told at all is that in the good times, most people don't think about their faith. They don't spend any time with it. It's very hard to pray when you're happy. And I mean, people pray and they say thank you when they're joyful, especially for some people who are new to the faith. They get really, really excited like Philip did, and they've got this joy bubbling, and they're overwhelmed with the need to say thank you. But after you've done that, there's kind of not much else to do. But when the sad times, when you failed a course, or you've had a fight with your friend, or someone in your family is sick, or someone has died, those hard, hard things, it's a lot easier to pray then. You're praying for comfort, you're praying for wisdom, you're praying for answers, you're praying for just anything you can think of, anything that can make a situation better. But here's the thing about it, is if you don't practice prayer, if you don't practice faith, then in those hard times when you really, really need God with you, you won't know how to go about it. You'll think maybe you shouldn't go about it, but that's kind of when God needs to be there. And you, as teenagers, if you share the message with your friends, when they're having a really hard time, it'll be easier for them to talk to God and maybe talk to you about things. And maybe they'll have more questions at that point in time. There is nothing that you can't ask. There's nothing that you can't wonder. But talking about it is the very first place. People don't come to church because they think they need to. People come to church because someone asked them to. So ask them, just like Philip told Nathaniel, come and see. Come make up your own opinion, but try it.